and it has led back to explosive allegations that she has sticky fingers with the pricey frock after wearing it in a high-profile 2022 photo shoot.
The first warning sign didn't come from the tabloids or Meghan herself. It came from Dior's silence. For months, Meghan's PR team had been pushing for a collaboration. A couture loan, a custom gown, anything to cement her name with the iconic fashion house. Normally, Dior responds quickly. Even if they decline, it's polite, a nod to industry diplomacy. But with Meghan, nothing. Emails went unanswered. Calls were brushed aside. Then came the moment every publicist dreads. An internal note quietly circulated among fashion insiders. We do not lend, collaborate, or communicate regarding this talent. No explanation, no negotiation, just a firm strategic block. In the fashion world, this was huge. Dior doesn't blacklist lightly. This is the brand that's navigated divas, scandals, and towering egos for decades without severing ties. They've worked with Marilyn Monroe, Princess Diana, Jennifer Lawrence, women with global fame and undeniable presence. And yet, Meghan Markle, who aimed to become the next modern royal style icon, didn't even receive a polite refusal. She received a professional freeze-out.
None of the items are being hawked on websites. None of the items are being given for free. The royal family pay for their clothes from trusted designers, and by the way, tend to wear them over and over again. Beloved pieces.
Or behind the scenes, Paris fashion insiders weren't surprised. To them, it wasn't shocking, it was expected. One source put it bluntly: Dior protects the brand, not the celebrity. In other words, if a collaboration risks drama, unreliability, missing wardrobe, or negative press, Dior steps back immediately. And based on what they had already heard about Meghan, they didn't see a partnership worth pursuing. They saw a recurring pattern that no luxury house wanted linked to their name if Dior's refusal was the warning shot. The real explosion came from a rumor the public wasn't supposed to hear. Once that whisper reached Paris, things escalated quickly. Long before Dior formally blocked her, the fashion world was quietly talking. Not publicly, not in headlines, just hushed exchanges between stylists, editors, and wardrobe directors, all repeating eerily similar stories that it always started the same way. Meghan would borrow a designer piece for a shoot or event, and somehow the item never made its way back to the house. At first, people assumed it was a simple delay. But then deadlines passed, reminders went unanswered, and eventually the lender was told, she's keeping it. Fashion professionals don't panic over one missing dress. Clothes get misplaced all the time. The problem wasn't a single piece. It was the frequency.
So this is because staffers on the shoot believed the former starlet allegedly walked off with several items that day without permission, including the dress she is now proudly wearing 3 years later.
A few magazines admitted they had to reach out repeatedly just to retrieve jewelry or gowns. One stylist privately vented that Meghan insisted once something had been worn, it became part of her image, as if usage equaled ownership. Others tried to defend her, suggesting misunderstandings or mishandled returns. But each time a story surfaced, designers seemed less willing to lend again. Behind closed doors, it became a quiet warning. If you need it back, don't send it to Meghan. Not a scandal, not a headline, just a repeating pattern. The public never caught wind of it, but in the industry, reputation spreads quietly, silently, and fast. Still, none of these incidents triggered a real bomb. That only came with one very specific dress years later when whispers turned into shock. The turning point was the now infamous emerald green gown. Meghan wore it during a high-profile Variety magazine shoot. The dress, stunning and dramatic, wasn't a gift or purchased. It was loaned under strict agreement to be returned immediately after the shoot. But once filming wrapped, the gown vanished. Designers and stylists reminded, emailed, and eventually gave up to avoid confrontation. It became another lost item in the pile of unanswered questions. Then years later, the bomb dropped. Meghan appeared at a private event wearing the exact same gown. Not a copy, not a dupe, the original.
There have now been multiple reports about Meghan taking this high-priced designer clothing, maybe with permission, but certainly not paying for it. Multiple reports, and she's doubled down with this threat against the New York Post, which actually I think confirms the story, because she's admitting she did take the dress.
7 photos spread through stylist group chats like wildfire. Screenshots of the original Variety wardrobe list were placed side by side with recent pictures, and the match was undeniable. That single moment ignited years of quietly simmering conversations. Some stylists laughed in disbelief. Others were furious. The original designer, already hesitant to speak publicly, reportedly felt humiliated that their creation was being paraded as if it had always been hers. Fashion houses don't mind lending. It's standard practice. What they despise is having agreements disrespected. The green dress became the smoking gun. Not a rumor, not an accusation, but proof confirming every whisper the fashion world had tried to ignore. Once those private screenshots reached higher-ups, the fallout became unstoppable. After the green dress screenshots circulated, the fashion world reacted with brutal efficiency. No press releases, no dramatic statements, just quiet, calculated decisions behind showroom doors. Stylists who once pitched Meghan for campaigns suddenly became unavailable. Brands that usually begged celebrities to wear their newest collections stopped sending lookbooks. Automatic emails went unsent. The message wasn't spoken, but it was crystal clear. Working with Meghan was now a liability. Some fashion houses began adding unusual clauses to lending contracts, refundable deposits, mandatory sign-offs, and assistance assigned solely to track pieces sent to her. Others rejected her requests outright when items vanished. Behind every polite email lurked a warning. The risk wasn't worth it. Fame, followers, or headlines didn't matter. Designers guard their archives like museums protect priceless art. And once trust is broken, it rarely rebuilds.
Those clothes are being lent by top designers of the world. And I have since heard in a more recent photo shoot of Meghan's, there was also a lot of stuff that was not returned after Meghan wore it in a very high profile photo shoot.
Bureau group chats among stylists reportedly became blunt and direct. If you want the piece returned, don't send it to her, one luxury brand executive said. Drama follows her wardrobe. Even companies trying to stay neutral quietly stepped back, unwilling to risk fallout. When Dior requested an industry background check on Meghan, a rare move, the reports were overwhelmingly negative. In couture, reliability is everything. If lenders get nervous, doors close fast. By this point, Meghan wasn't just a whisper in the industry. She was facing a full-scale fashion freeze-out, and that freeze began years before anyone connected it to her royal life. Long before Meghan stepped onto the palace stage, costume teams on suits were already noticing patterns. The department managed expensive designer pieces daily. Heels, custom blazers, luxury dresses, all meticulously catalogued. But whenever Meghan filmed scenes with certain high-value items, those were the ones most likely to go missing after production wrapped. Assistants scoured storage, trailers, and dry clean logs, searching for pieces that simply weren't there. At first, it was dismissed as human error. But the same scenario kept repeating, always with the outfits Meghan favored. The real shock came later after she left Suits. During early royal engagements, eagle-eyed crew members spotted familiar accessories and shoes, the same items repeatedly logged as lost on set. Some insiders called it coincidence, but others quietly wondered. Why would wardrobe from a TV show resurface at highly photographed events unless it had been deliberately kept?
And he reported that Meghan, at the end of that shoot, the crew that was there was sort of surprised because she had some high-heeled shoes on that no longer seemed to be in the room for the shoot.
Meghan reportedly defended herself, claiming she didn't want clothing she had worn to be resold or misused. Crew members countered bluntly. If that were the concern, she could simply purchase the items outright. Yet receipts never appeared. It became a pattern nobody publicly confronted. Calling out a rising star can destroy careers. When she transitioned from actress to duchess, those old habits didn't vanish, they escalated. Within the royal family, wardrobe wasn't just fashion, it was protocol. Every borrowed item had to be documented, every gifted piece reported, and no member could exploit designer relationships for personal gain. Catherine followed the rules precisely. Meghan, insiders say, did not. She reportedly pushed against palace protocol from the start, preferring Hollywood-style arrangements where brands shower celebrities with pieces and expect publicity, not returns. The clash was immediate. Palace staff were stunned by the volume of clothing she requested and the staggering value of the pieces she selected. Wardrobe spending skyrocketed, prompting Prince Charles, managing the funding at the time, to request briefings on why Meghan's fashion expenses dwarfed Catherine's. Meanwhile, multiple designers contacted the palace to ask why their gowns hadn't been returned, creating a delicate, embarrassing paper trail staff scrambled to manage. Meetings were held behind the scenes to explain protocol and emphasize transparency and accountability. According to insiders, instead of de-escalating, Meghan took it as a personal insult, believing she was being singled out and restricted.
She thought it was mad that she couldn't take all of these clothes. So it's like, don't now, when you can do whatever you want, try and say that this is anything to do with what the British royal family do, because you never liked it. You never liked the fact that you couldn't take all of these free clothing. It had to be paid for. And of course it was paid for from the royal funding.
For the royal family, this wasn't simply expensive taste. It was uncontrolled fashion management with mounting consequences. The palace couldn't ignore complaints from luxury designers forever. At that level, reputational risk is taken seriously, and luxury brands like Dior were watching closely, waiting to see if the situation would improve or spiral further. In the end, Dior didn't block Meghan Markle on a whim or out of jealousy. They made a calculated decision based on patterns, rumors that had turned into proof, and a reputation that had become too unpredictable for a luxury house to risk. The missing dresses, the resurfaced emerald green gown, the friction with designers, the palace wardrobe crisis. It all painted a picture the fashion world could no longer ignore. Meghan wanted the status of couture royalty, but couture royalty demands responsibility, professionalism, and trust. Trust is the one currency you can't buy. Maybe one day she'll repair those relationships, or maybe she'll continue blaming outsiders for what insiders call self-inflicted damage. Only time will tell. One thing is certain, Dior closing that door sent shockwaves across the entire industry. Before you go, if you want to see what led up to this moment, the boots on the ground drama, the dress that started it all, and the brutal consequences that followed, binge my previous video. I break down every twist behind Dior blocking Meghan Markle amid the shocking stolen dress scandal in incredible detail.